In this video, we're going to discuss an advanced use of the custom control feature in version 10, grid components. So you can see here I'm running a grid that shows data from the Alpha Sports invoice header table over here, and then in this column over here I'm showing all of the line items for this invoice. Now this could have been done by putting an entire embedded grid over here, but in this case, the custom control seems like it might be a good solution because our needs are very simple. We don't want the full power of a grid here. We don't need to enter new records or sort, so we want something that's very lightweight and very quick. So you can see now that as we navigate, say, from page to page, basically we get very good response because the custom control is a very lightweight control in this particular case here. So let's go ahead now and see how this was set up. So we'll switch back to the grid, and the first thing that you'll notice here is that in the DBF I created a dummy calc field called linked items equals just a null string, and if this was a SQL database I would have just created added a dummy calc field to my SQL select statement. Then when I went to my fields over here, I added the linked items calc field over there, and I set the control type to be a custom control type. Then when I went to the definition of the control type, basically what I'm doing here is I'm calling a local function that we wrote that's part of the grid, and we'll get to that next. That renders the HTML for the embedded line items, and what we pass in is the current value of invoice number, which we get by pressing data and then invoice number, and we tell it that we want to use the glass blue style. So the linked records UDF function is going to return the HTML for the that embedded line items. So now let's go and look and see where linked records is defined. So we'll go now to the grid properties over here, and I'll just make this a little bit smaller, and then scroll down here to Xbasic function declarations, and you can see here is our local function called linked records that takes two arguments, the invoice number and the style of the HTML that we want to use. And so here's our HTML, our Xbasic. We're opening up the invoice items table. We're going to do a query to find all of the records that match the invoice number. If there are no matching records, then we're going to just return the string no records found and exit. Then here's something called our HTML template. This is the template row for each row, and you can see here it's just a standard TR for an HTML table. The class is data TD, and then the current style name. So in this case we're using glass blue, so this will render as glass blue data TD. Then here we're extracting the product ID from the table using the syntax table.data. Then we're JS escaping that, which is JavaScript escape, so we're converting all single quote characters into backslash single quote, etc. And then HTML label basically converts spaces into NBSPs so that they render nicely inside the table. So let's pause now and continue in part 2 of the video.